the Wednesday it's supposed to be, although at the, I actually had called the sanitation department yesterday in terms of snow removal, and the answer machine I got was still referring to the old new method that's on the calendar. So I would think there's a lot of confusion going on about this.
This is Donna, the city manager. I will make sure that sanitation changes their message. And Mr. McNally, would you like to tell him where he can find it on the website so that he will know each week what we're picking up? And then
sure thing. And look
that up, we will get more information out to the public so they to alleviate any confusion.
Sure thing, Lou. I mean, and obviously we know there's going to be a learning curve on any of this, so that's inherent in this process. But a new year-long calendar, one pager that anybody can print up, black and white or color, right, is on the website at Long Beach NY /recycle.
Okay.
Recycling. So
a couple of quick questions about this process. Are there? I'll ask a couple of questions and then you could answer them. Are there different trucks used for the paper and different trucks for the metal and plastic? And are these different trucks than the regular garbage trucks? And if there are different trucks, would it make sense to still go back to a Wednesday for everything and have one truck start in the west end and one truck start in the east end? So at least you don't have all the trucks kind of running into each other. I think that's all I got in terms of questions about this.
So they are our regular sanitation trucks. And one of the problems is, so what you're talking about is if we did all of it on one day.
Correct.
Which is what we had tried to do, but split the city up into 5 different zones. You had to run 2 separate trucks to go service each zone. And that was resulting in enormous overtime, a lot of confusion with residents, and no efficiencies, and streets that were not as clean as our sanitation department would have liked. So the decision was made to, and a pretty quick and affirmative decision was made only 2 weeks into that schedule that it was not working and we were going to shift to this, which is just, for the record, what more than half of the municipalities on Long Island do, as everybody has been shifted over to, almost everybody has been shifted over to dual stream recycling. Almost all of the municipalities on Long Island are doing the alternate week recycling. So we're not unique here. We're sending, one truck out to do each of the loads once a week, but we're alternating weeks. Okay.
I just think there's some confusion and I hope that people kind of get on board with it because
it's a learning curve and it's adjustment. We're cognizant of it, and we're continuing to get the educational information out there and try and make sure our residents are aware of what the new procedures are.
Okay, good. Okay, just because I was trying to figure out what I'm supposed to put out tomorrow, and then I had to actually go back to a previous email. I missed the early part of the meeting. Sorry about that. So at least I know what I'm putting out tomorrow. So, which I believe is plastic and metal.
Yes.
And glass.
And glass. Right. Okay, good. I'm good. Okay. Thank you. That's all I got for you guys. Thank you.
Right, thanks,
okay.
Lou.
Thanks, Lou.
Right.
All right. Who's next, Dave?
Next is Michelle Kelly.
Okay.
Get out of it.
Michelle, go ahead and unmute.
Okay, good. Hi, how is everyone? Good evening.
Hi, Michelle.
I have a few concerns regarding the construction at 75 Curly Street. This house is adjacent to our backyard, and as you are all aware, a major safety issue occurred last week during the framing out of the top floor. I would like to, first of all, thank the building department for reaching out to PSEGLI in a speedy fashion, but I am concerned about the following. I have a few questions. So due to the 3 minutes, I would just like to read the questions and then possibly you could answer them after. Okay, 1, we were told an inspector was dispatched and on site within 10 minutes of the notification that the primary electrical wire was rubbing up against the newly constructed roof frame. Why wasn't a stop work order not immediately made by the city of Long Beach? Does the city not have the authority to do so? It took 4 hours to shut down the site and work continued into 5 p.m. My next question is, how many violations does it take until a developer contractor can no longer build in the city of Long Beach? My third question is, why is it that a developer can change a one-story structure that takes up approximately 30% of the plot to a 3-story house with a roof deck, actually 3.5, including the garage, does not have to inform the neighbors, especially with such a dramatic change of character to the neighborhood? But I, and I have done this, would have to file a variance for an 8-foot fence on my side or front yards, or for a pre-existing curb cut for a driveway after Sandy. Our neighborhoods are being changed dramatically by density and height. The residents are helpless due to the current zoning laws. As in this case, the developer didn't have to file any variances and building as far up and out as they can. My fourth question, wouldn't it be the job of the architectural review board to see if plans fit into the character of the neighborhood? On the city website, no one is listed as a member of the architectural review board. Do we no longer have one? What is the council doing to protect the safety of our residents and the character of our neighborhoods? I'm really concerned. I have a wire that is very precarious behind my house. PSEGLI came and they put a Band-Aid on it, and we just experienced an extraordinarily windstorm, and that wire has been rubbing against the peak of that roof frame for over 24 hours, and I'm just waiting for a spark to occur. My current situation is what I just said. There's been no more visits from PSEGLI. I do not know what the building department is doing. What is the council doing to stop this and inform the residents and also stop the overdevelopment of our neighborhood? Thank you.
And that is your time.
Okay. I don't think we have anyone from the buildings department on.
Mr. McNally will address some of the questions.
Okay.
Sure, and we had Scott on earlier, but he had to drop off. So I mean, there was Ms. Kelly forwarded a number of questions earlier on today. I won't go through all of them since she didn't quite ask all of them. But it's number one was we had an inspector on site within 10 minutes of them lodging a complaint and expressing concerns. But why they were asking why the enforcement didn't happen immediately once our inspector showed up. That answer is because the inspector didn't know if the wire was live or not, and we were waiting for PSEG on the scene to let us know, because PSEG actually gave the developer the clearance. Let's see, I'm sorry, I'm just scrolling through an email where Scott gave us some answers. In terms of how many violations was one of the other questions from Michelle. I don't have an answer for that, but we will get back to you on it. The architectural review board, there's an advisory board and an actual board. The actual board is the council. When this project went through the process, it was approved by the council, and again, it is within all of the zoning codes. And I know there's a number of people in that area that have availed themselves of using the full lot size or using themselves the full height. Some have done both. This developer has actually done both, but everything is within the zoning, so there's not a whole lot of grounds for denying what was applied for because it's within the code. It's not what you want. It's not necessarily what any of us would want, but it's within the code. As indicated in an earlier email to both you and your husband, that's a change in zoning that you'd be looking for. And then what am I missing, Michelle, from your questions?
What are you doing to protect the safety of me, my family, and my neighbors? We have a very precarious wire that has a Band-Aid on
Right.
it.
So they, it has a Band-Aid on it. That is at this stage of the game between PSEG and the developer. PSEG did a cease and desist. The city did a stop work order, and it is up to PSEG and the developer to come to a mutually agree upon situation or, solution to what the situation is. And until that is agreed upon, they will not be able to continue with any work on the house.
Okay, so to go back to how many violations does it take? This developer has had violations in the past. And obviously this is a pretty big one to me personally. What does it take to have somebody's license revoked from working in the city of Long Beach? We rely on you for protection to make sure that things are safe.
John, you're muted if you're talking.
Sorry about that. No, I mean, I think that's one of the questions I need to go back to on what the criteria is. I mean, but there's a difference between a developer and a construction company, and I think what we're generally talking about is a developer that has been aggressive and may have utilized multiple construction companies over time. This is something I would need to dig further into. But I think the larger issue you're raising is this is a developer who has looked to squeeze every drop of blood out of a stone in multiple developments. And the city has challenged him on many of those developments over the course of many, many years. And as indicated in our, my email to you, to varying degrees of success. Sometimes the city's had a legal standing and has succeeded. Sometimes it's not, and it's not. But I cannot say with any degree of certainty whether there's been, ongoing violations with each of those construction projects. I just know that this is a developer that likes to push it to the max and maximize their profit potential. And the city has pushed back over the years on certain requests made by that developer with varying degrees of success. So, in terms of violations, that's something that I will go back to the building department on and say how many violations have been issued. Is it a specific contractor? And what remedies are in place if a specific contractor, runs afoul X number of times. What is that X number of times before they can no longer, be authorized to do work in our city?
Guys, that's 3 minutes there, guys.
Excuse me.
And you can, happy to, take this up offline with you, Michelle, any other time, obviously.
All right, we'll talk about the council being the architectural review board in an email. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Who's next, Dave?
Next is Roy Lester.
Okay.
John, this meeting you just had, that was the same one that you had last night or were supposed to have last night?
No,
Totally different. What happened to last night's meeting?
it was, they announced it earlier in the meeting. It was postponed.
So why did this meeting why did you have to go into executive session now and keep us all on hold for an hour and whatever,
Because
rather
that's
than rescheduling
rescheduling what?
the executive session like you did last night?
Because this executive session, that's the way the process works. When
No,
we
John,
need to,
John, it was rude. Okay. Anyway, let me go to my questions. Last week, Donna said that we showed $55 million in our financials to Moody. How did we show that? And how did we show we were going to pay that? That was for the Haberman case. And can you, if you're
I
going to
don't-
answer that, put the clock on hold, please.
No, I don't have that in front of me, Roy, the Moody's statement. I will get that statement and either Ina or I will call you. I don't have that in front of me.
Okay. And then
And Roy, before you jump into your time, I mean, you well know from the school board, executive sessions need to take place in the midst of a public meeting, which this is. So this is when these things take place.
But John, you know that you can call a public meeting like you did last night, and then you go into executive session, which was exactly what you had planned to do last night. And you could have done it for tomorrow. You could have done it at any other time. You could have actually done it after this meeting.
And Roy, you would
Good and welfare.
have. So last night was on a separate matter, and you would have, and I was not on either subject matters, and I don't even know what either of them are. But then you or somebody else would have claimed that, oh, they're doing another meeting in private separately. So
No,
there's no win here. You can
Roy,
nitpick on
this
it all
is
you
Donna,
want.
excuse me, this is
Yeah.
Donna, duly noted, Roy. I understand.
Okay, I just find it
What's your-
really, it was
Okay.
rude to a lot of people. Okay,
Okay,
I had asked questions about recycling. And, you know, I was told I would get a call back. I didn't. My questions are, how many tons do we recycle each year? Who do we pay to take it? Do they actually sell our recycling? Do they recycle it? Do they incinerate it? Do they put it to a landfill? Do we know any of that? Or do they export it to some third world country?
Roy, you asked this question at the last Good and Welfare, and John Mirando answered it. It goes.
No,
to
he did not.
It goes to
No, he
Senate.
did not.
Roy,
Read it,
please
John.
stop arguing, Roy, and let me talk.
Okay.
It goes to Sanitary District 1. What Sanitary District 1 does with it, he talked about what Sanitary District 1 does with it. He's not on the line now.
John, I listened to it before I wrote the questions down. Okay?
Roy, can I have John Mirando give you a call? And then
Well,
you
yeah,
can
if someone will
report
give
back
me a
at it
call.
on it at the next meeting, because no one's on the call right now to answer that question.
Okay, because,
And
you
so,
know, I have a lot of
what,
questions.
Roy, what I'll do, I'll call you tomorrow and I'll get all the questions you have about recycling. And then just so we keep the public in the loop, after we answer your questions, we will come back at the next meeting in Good and Welfare and also let the public know the answers to those questions.
Okay, and also I asked about our regular garbage, and I asked about the cost of our regular garbage. I wanna
Okay,
know how
I'll
many
get all the
tons
questions
and
from
what
you
it
tomorrow,
costs.
Roy. I'll get
Okay,
them from you tomorrow.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, who's next, Dave?
Peter Rovitz.
All right. Hi, Peter.
Hi, how are you? Good evening, everybody. A couple questions. The RFP for the rink went out. How many proposals were received, and what's the current status of those proposals?
I can take that. Right now, 2 proposals were received, I believe, and we are now kind of deliberating the award process. We'll be putting something out shortly as to the city's determination on the status of those proposals.
Okay, and one more question. Vice President McGinnis, you said that the rink was operating at a $95,000 deficit.
No, I'm sorry, that's not correct. My statement was that the budget for the ice rink was a net loss of $92,000. And so that doesn't mean that's what it is. And that's what, I just pointed out so that we can monitor that, because we want it, of course, to be net positive.
Okay, but included in those figures, is there the cost of fringe benefits, payroll taxes, bond payments for work that was done on the rink?
Capital costs are not included in the operating budget, so that is common practice. So that would not be included. In terms of fringe benefits, right now our systems do not have the capacity to budget fringe benefits by department, which is something that hopefully that we will eventually be able to do in the future. Therefore, we cannot analyze any department right now per se when we include the benefits. You can use an estimate. So right now, in analyzing any department in terms of revenues and expenses, we do not include fringe benefits.
So how do you get a true determination of where those costs lie? If that's a true number of, if I don't remember.
I said, usually it's called an EPMB. You use an estimated fringe cost, and that's what the controller's office and finance teams use when they do analyses.
Okay, but, okay, thank you.
Mhm.
That's it. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Peter. Have a good night.
You too.
All right, Dave, we got anyone else?
Next is Kathleen O'Leary.
Well, welcome back.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. I would like to echo the woman who was speaking about the construction going on next to her. It's my understanding in most places an architectural board is made up of architects. I mean, no disrespect to the council, but I hardly think that they're qualified to be making architectural decisions. And also, I find there's a trend here of taking historic buildings and converting them into McMansions. I have one next door to me that was built around 1919. They just took it, they built the front porch all the way up to the sidewalk. I lost my sunlight, I lost my view, and there was nothing I could do about it. And in terms of turning the municipal garage into a Popeyes, that's just another case of another historic building being repurposed. And I don't see any overall plan for the city. I know there was a planning commission set up with a lot of money to spend before everything went south, but I don't see anybody with a master plan here. We're just going like, elevate on one side, take a historic building and turn it into like a roof garden with 3 stories. I don't see the master plan here. And I don't like what I'm seeing either.
Well, there is the new planning, what is it, planning board or planning commission? I think we call it a planning commission.
Uh-huh.
Planning advisory board. Sorry, planning advisory board that is actually working on updating the city's comprehensive plan. And then once the comprehensive plan is updated and approved, then what happens is you start making zoning changes to align with the approved comprehensive plan. So there's a planning commission board which is made up of residents, which have started the process of going through and updating a comprehensive plan for the city. And that's the first step. And then, like I said, once a comprehensive plan gets approved, you start making the zoning updates to align with the comprehensive plan.
Okay, and then
If I could just jump in there too. So
Sure.
it's the next step after an approved comprehensive plan is not changing the zoning, but it's then doing an analysis of the zoning.
Well,
so it's not quite so cut and dry. There's give and take and choices to be made there.
mm,
And then just to Miss O'Leary's earlier point, there's an architectural advisory board,
Right.
which
Mhm.
is comprised of a number of people, and we'll get the names up on the website, but those are people that have the bona fides to be an architectural advisory board, that they make a recommendation to the council. And then the council, by virtue of our charter, sets in place that they are, this is our arcane charter to some degree, but the charter says that the council is the architectural advisory board and they're the ones that ultimately need to approve it. So have some solace that the advisory board has some chops on this stuff.
I thought we
the
were as
advisory board going to take into account the history of Long Beach, and that commission to do the comprehensive plan, if my memory serves me right, that's been going on for 4 years. When is it getting off the ground? Like, when are we going to see results?
The comprehensive plan, the planning commission just was reactivated. There was a plan that was done many years ago that was accepted. And then there was a plan that the city brought in some consultants that was not accepted. And then the commission went dormant. So it just was brought back I believe that first meeting was November of last year.
Mhm.
They have the old plan, they had the revised plan, and then they've been separated into groups to start working on to correct and work on the new plan. So it hasn't been worked on for years.
Okay.
Yeah, and then once the plan is completed, then we go out and we'll have probably, we're still in COVID, we'll have Zoom meetings with the public about different areas of the plan.
Okay.
I just wanted to clarify that there is an architectural review board made up of architects, as stated earlier, that review the plans to make sure that they are within, the specs of the city. So they give the A-OK. And then the council members are members of the architectural review board, which basically review the work of the advisory board to make sure it's in compliance. And then it's passed through. So there are two checks to make sure that, and the first check is the people are qualified as architects.
Okay. Thank you.
And then you're to the second point where you asked about the, the planning commission and the master plan. What's interesting is that the city council doesn't just go out and make all these changes. We hired Donna to come in to run the city, and Donna has been working diligently to populate all the boards and commissions of the city. All these boards and commissions they collaborate, and they form consensus to go ahead and say, hey, we need to update the zoning. Hey, we need to update the comprehensive plan. So we're building our base and getting community involvement to make the decisions that we need to move this city forward. And it doesn't happen overnight, unfortunately. And I can believe me, we all wish it could, but it can't. But the thing is that Donna has vetted all of these candidates. We have very talented members of the city that are working precisely on these problems that were brought up tonight. So this council is moving forward to address these issues.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Kathleen.
You're welcome.
All right. We have anyone else, Dave?
Yes, Dave DiPiola.
Okay.
Go ahead, sir. So DiPiola, you can go ahead and unmute your mic. Try one more time. Mr. DiPiola, you're still muted, so we can't hear you. No, I'm getting no response.
Okay, so let's move on.
Nope, that's it. That was our
That's
list.
it? Okay, well, thanks for joining us tonight, folks, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. And everyone have a good night.
Safe.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.